When you think of go-karting racing games featuring beloved characters, there's probably only one title that pops into your head.
That's right, we're talking about Garfield Kart, baby. Woo! We got Lasagna Cup. You can play as John. And Squeak? Hell yeah, brother. I got 800 hours in this game. Let's get it.
No, we meant Mario Kart, obviously. The strength of Nintendo's greatest IPs racing against each other has proven to be the be-all end-all in virtual go-karting. But it wasn't always like that. Once upon a time, there were quite a few different games vying for that position as top dog in the world of racing games. And one of the biggest competitors of the Nintendo universe was a little series called Crash Bandicoot. Well, in 2019, Crash and the boys decided to stage a comeback tour and released one of the most highly regarded racing games in recent history. One that many fans believed had a legitimate shot at upsetting the balance and once again challenging the Mario Kart franchise. But it quickly became apparent that something was wrong this time around. Something that sucked the magic out of the hot new reboot. This is the story about the crash and burn of what was supposed to be a second life for a diehard community. This is Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled. The original Crash Team Racing was released in 1999 on the PlayStation 1 and is considered the fourth installment in the Crash Bandicoot series. A direct competitor to Mario Kart, CTR has been played by speedrunning communities for nearly 2 decades. Just last month, the any% warpless world record was shattered by Hypnoshark, who earned the first sub 50 in the game's history.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
To say the least, the Crash Team Racing community is still alive and kicking. So imagine the community's glee when on June 20th, 2019, an official reboot, Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled, was released.
This is brilliant, but I like this.
It was the first CTR game released in 10 years, and first impressions were that the new game seemed to be faithful to the originals. Breaking franchise sales records and drawing in more than 1 million players at launch, Nitro-Fueled was praised by critics as a really good racing game. The mechanics were all there, the racing felt fast-paced, and most importantly, it gave players a healthy dose of nostalgia while still being modern enough to appeal to those new to the franchise. On top of all this, it even won Best Racing Game at the 2019 Game Awards.
And the Game Award goes to Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled.
By all accounts, it seemed like Nitro-Fueled would be a contender to dethrone Nintendo's perennial franchise, something few would have thought possible going into the game's release. So let's take a closer look at what makes Nitro-Fueled such a good game. First, the game's core mechanics are excellent. The gameplay is smooth, the graphics are up to par with what one would expect from a AAA title, and the skill ceiling is surprisingly high for something that many would consider just a party game. On top of this, the game's customization features give players the opportunity to build their kart and character exactly how they want to. With more than 50 unique characters and hundreds of skins and custom kart options, playing Nitro-Fueled really feels like you're your own racer. And by the time Beenox shut down support for the game, it had 40 racetracks to choose from. Wait, did we mention that Beenox had shut down support for the game? We should probably talk about that. On September 8th, 2020, just over a year after Nitro-Fueled's release, developer Beenox announced that they would be officially ending support for the game, and that the most recent update in March 2020 would be the last patch the game would receive. Now that alone isn't unusual. Usually a game will come out, some content will come in the months following the release, and then the studio will start working on their next title. But on top of cutting support for the game, the player base declined sharply in a very short period of time. And with everything we've just laid on the table, the question is, why did people stop playing? First off, one of the most promising features of the new CTR game was that it would connect the community online. For most diehard fans, playing with other enthusiasts meant lugging PS1s to LAN events. Now, rather than using third-party emulators to connect online, Nitro-Fueled promised a AAA multiplayer experience. But sadly for fans, the online experience wasn't quite what they were hoping for. First off, Nitro-Fueled's netcode and matchmaking was not very good. No host migrations, difficulty finding games, and mid-game lag that often made races unplayable have been present for the entirety of the game. One would expect a AAA title like Nitro-Fueled to invest heavily in a seamless online experience, but unfortunately, they seemed more interested in pouring their resources into cosmetics, which we'll get to later. Outside of poor netcode, the game modes that were featured by Nitro-Fueled's online play were lackluster to say the least. First off, there was no option to play online cups, meaning that only individual races could be played online. So while single races and battles are great for more casual players, it left most die-hard fans in want of more. Online tournaments, team races, no items modes, there was so much potential here that would have kept the community coming back for more, but unfortunately, Beenox and Activision barely even addressed online play in their content updates. Outside of online features, the track designs in Nitro-Fueled are considered inferior to the original. While there are a number of remastered tracks that are just as good as you remember, there are also many new tracks that aren't quite as good. As for competitive play, the different driving styles available in the game were not very well balanced, meaning that if you wanted to win, you were forced to play a certain way. The lack of creativity at the top levels lessened the game's replayability even further, and with poor item balance making races more about power-ups and less about player skill, the gameplay experience could be, at times, more frustrating than fun. But despite these problems, the community was hopeful that features would be added as time went on, as Beenox promised new features and updates to improve players' quality of life. But in these updates came an addition that left a very bad taste in players' mouths: microtransactions.
Yeah, boy.
You guys are giving so much amazing content and the original nostalgia. But speaking
all
of
that
nostalgia,
for free, by the way. All that for free.
From the get-go, Beenox had ensured players that Nitro-Fueled would have absolutely no microtransactions at all. But, as you've probably already put 2 and 2 together, only a month after release, and after they had their positive reviews safely tucked away, Activision couldn't turn down the chance to make an extra bit of coin. Now, we should preface this by saying that nothing was locked completely behind paywalls. Anything that was in the game could be unlocked just by playing the game and earning coins. And anything you bought was purely cosmetic and wouldn't give you a distinct advantage during races. However, much like Star Wars Battlefront 2, the amount that people had to grind in order to unlock just one item they wanted was on the higher end. On top of this, there was the Pit Stop Shop system, which was an item store that had randomly generated content that would rotate every day. The issue with this is that if there was something that a player wanted but didn't have enough coins for at the time, they would either have to wait an indeterminate amount of time until it came back in the store, which could be days, weeks, or even months, or they would have to bite the bullet and simply buy some coins. Because hey, I don't know when this item's gonna come back again. Now, obviously, many of you are probably thinking, these are just cosmetic items. No one is forcing you to buy them, and you're right. Players didn't have to buy a nice skin or an upgrade for their cart, but for a title like Nitro-Fueled, which is at least in some part built on player nostalgia, there are going to be a lot of users who are heavily invested in cosmetics and collectibles. Having a predatory MTX system that forces players to pay now, or you might not get another chance, it's pretty greasy. But Beenox did redeem themselves in some ways. They introduced engine swaps, which made for more diverse gameplay, as there was no longer one driving style that everyone was using. They put out tons of content via Grand Prix, which included racetracks, skins, and game modes, and the core game just felt really good to play, and did justice to the beloved original. And even though Nitro-Fueled no longer has the same hype it once did, Beenox has proven that they know how to make a good racing game. Hopefully, if they decide to take another crack at Crash Team Racing, fans won't have to wait another 10 years to see its sequel, and the dream of a healthy online community won't crash and burn. This video is made possible thanks to our wonderful patrons. Massive thank you to everyone on this list, and shout out to Arknox, Sammy, Shampoo, Weeaboo, Nathan, Nate, Mauve, Sierra, Foxy, and Lyra for being our platinum supporters. And an extra special shout out to Raffi, Noodles, Marco, and Steven for being our diamond supporters. We love you, and we appreciate you. If you also want to support our channel and unlock perks, check out the Patreon link in the description below or join our Discord server, where we take suggestions for future videos like this one. If you want to help us out in a different way, leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell to stay up to date is also appreciated. My name is Jonah, thanks for watching.